ABC Sports presents in its silver anniversary season, live, the Professional Bowlers Tour. This afternoon from sunny California, we bring you the $125,000 Greater Los Angeles Open. In fifth place, looking for his first championship title, Pete McCordick. With a record of 47 wins and 34 losses, making his 50th appearance in the television finals, Wayne Webb. In third place from Gothenburg, Sweden, and the first foreign resident to win a national PBA title, Mats Karlsson. In the number 2 position, an exciting left-hander looking for his second win, John Gant. 1984 NCAA All-American at Cal Berkeley, making his television debut, our tournament leader, Ricky Corona. That's our field today for the Greater Los Angeles Open here on ABC Sports. It is always a pleasure to return to Southern California in Torrance, as a matter of fact, for the Greater Los Angeles Open, because for the 10th time we have returned to the Gable House. And I guess a good reason we like it here so much is the Kogan family right behind me. I'll talk about them a little bit later, but you must remember that our first 3 stops, 2 of the winners were first-time winners on the Professional Bowlers Tour. There are 2 bowlers today in our field of 5 that have that same opportunity to win their very, very first. What type of conditions will they be bowling on today? Well, what better way to find out than go down on the lanes, and right there on his right knee is Nelson Burton Jr. Bo?
Thank you, Chris. You're correct. The continuing story of the young Lions taking over the Professional Bowlers Tour also continues here in Torrance. But what has changed here in Torrance is the lane condition that the players have played on over the years. Historically, championship pair 13 and 14 here at Gable House has been a pair of lanes where the right-handers were forced to play between the second and third arrows. We had some very low scores, but the management here made a major change. They came in, they had a crew come in and completely resurface this lane surface. Now the lanes are very smooth and very playable from almost any angle. We have the left-hander, John Gant, playing around the third arrow on the left side. Some of the right-handers are playing the second arrow. Some have even opted for the first arrow. So we've had the highest scoring tournament of the 4 we've had so far this year, and I think the action will continue that way again today, Chris. Some super scores. They're ready for match play.
All right, thank you very much, Bo, and we're ready for our very first game here at Gable House. And many-time winner, in fact, 16 titles. We have Wayne, who will go against Pete McCordick. And also on today's telecast, following ABC's Wide World of Sports Men's Downhill World Championship from Switzerland. What excitement. That is a creme de creme of all of skiing. World Cup Gymnastics Championships. And that will be coming from Beijing, Peking, China. That's all today on ABC's Wide World of Sports. Here's a handshake now, which means that match number 1 will be getting underway. Webb, in his 50th television appearance, will watch Pete McCordick looking for his very first win, shooting on the left lane of the championship pair, which Bo described to you a moment ago. Weeks average 224, Houston, Texas. And with his wife looking on here at Gable House in Torrance, he has opened in a perfect way. Now Wayne Webb, bowling out of Indianapolis, Indiana, native of Massachusetts. Unusual style, Nelson.
Wayne Webb started bowling as a junior bowler, but Chris, you're right. He has developed that low swing style of his. Wayne Webb used to hold the ball waist high, but he felt more comfortable holding it down by his side, and that kept his arm swing much straighter. As you see him drive through the line, ending up about 18 inches behind the foul line, slightly off balance on that shot, has left himself a relatively easy spare, the 2-4.
Well, Webb marking with a spare, the 29-year-old who last year reached the TV finals 3 times without a victory. Which didn't, of course, make him happy, because this is a tough competitor. 16 titles in a 12-year PBA career. out a bit, Wayne Webb. And McCordick, who marked with a strike in the first frame, shooting now in the second. The winner of this match will meet Mats Karlsson from Gothenburg, Sweden, then John Gant of Independence, Kentucky, and Ricky Corona, like McCordick, a non-winner.
Pete, with the style that he's developed over the years, is almost a textbook style. Four-step delivery, slightly higher than shoulder arm swing, extended follow-through right towards the target. Off to a good start with 2 strikes. Could extend his lead over Wayne Webb to 20 pins with a 3rd strike here in the 3rd frame.
Pete McCordick, who was on television 3 times last year without a win, and today the winner will get $18,000, $9,500, runner-up $7,000, $5,500, and the loser of this match we're watching right now, $4,500. Webb now looking, hoping to double. 3rd frame, right lane. A 2-pin.
Once again, Wayne light on the right-hand lane. And what you have to watch with Wayne Webb is you see his ball sliding by the head pin, gets a good break as he leaves only the 2-pin, a simple spare. Is Wayne Webb is dropping his right shoulder more than he ever has in the earlier part of his career. And I think that's the reason he hasn't had a good year the last year and a half.
Wayne Webb on this championship pair crossed it twice, averaged 241, McCordick 206, and Wayne was one of 4 who shot perfect 300 games here during the week.
Watch Wayne Webb's eyes as he lines up. He looks down to see where he should mark on the approach. Then watch his eyes as he picks up his 2 spots in the lane. There's the early one, then down the lane, then back to the other one. Good movement.
Wayne Webb, 60 through the 3rd with a strike up in the 4th, trailing by 20 pins. We're in our very first match on the Professional Bowlers Tour. We'll be back. Here is a most prolific non-winner on the Professional Bowlers Tour. Pete McCordick of Houston, Texas, 33-year-old, father of 2, who has 3 in a row, now shooting in the 4th frame, can increase his lead to 30 pins. That's 4.
In 14 previous championship round experiences, as you see wife Susie looking on, liking the action so far, Peter perfect through 4 frames. Pete McCordick has only won 1 match in 15 attempts. He's 1 in 14, but he has a new year under his belt, and he really looks sharp. He practiced very hard in November and December. Is perfect through 4 frames.
Make it 5 now for Pete McCordick. He and Susan have 2 suds as we get a replay of that shot.
The action of the 2-pin, it drives to the sideboard, taking out the 4 and 7 pins, and that's one of the big reasons the scores have been so high at the Gable House. You're rewarded with a strike almost every time you hit the pocket.
And Wayne needed that one. Cutting the lead to 30 pins. We asked Wayne earlier that he predicted in 1980 he'd be the bowler of the decade. How's he doing?
Well, in 1986, I had a real bad year. It humbled me. It made me work a lot harder. In the last 6 months, I've been working real hard, practicing 20 games a day. Now things seem like they're coming around. I'm working on my spares, and I'm starting to bowl real good again.
Okay, Wayne, he has 2 spares already in this match, a double up now, shooting in the 6th frame. Getting some consistency now, Bo, isn't he?
Right, Chris. Nobody has lost a pocket hit. The 2 shots that didn't strike so far today were shots by Wayne Webb in both the first and third frames. He hit light. He's been rewarded with 4 strikes, but he still trails this man by 20 pins, who is perfect through 5.
Now he has 6 more, and it's $100,000. McCordick, we asked him earlier about a New Year's resolution.
Well, this New Year's, I just decided to forget all my the past that wasn't successful and remember what was. Just start over. Jack Biondelillo said to say or think of heaven in '87. So that's my theory and goal for this year.
Jack Biondelillo, 1 of 3 to shoot perfect 300 games on ABC. Make it 7 in a row. All right. What a match. McCordick and Webb. We're going to take a pause and be back for more. Don't miss today's Wide World of Sports. 3 parts and 3 exciting parts. And we have excitement here in Torrance, California live. Wayne Webb trailing by 40. He has 3 in a row, shooting in the 7th frame. His opponent has 7 in a row. Our first match. Still 30 pins, although he has strung 4.
The release of Wayne Webb, one of the great wrist actions in the sport. Look at that hand snap right around the ball, imparting an end-over-end roll, and watch it take the bite at the back end. All 10 pins in the pit. He trails by 30. Don't ever count this young competitor out. Tough, tough, tough. He's determined. He'll keep the pressure on McCordick. What happens there is Wayne Webb puts a lot of rosin on his thumb, and occasionally when he rocks from that down position, his thumb slips slightly. Good move to stop. Reset yourself. A lot of players, even the league bowlers, not concentrating enough to stop an errant shot. Good move.
And could smile even. Five in a row for Wayne Webb.
The power of Webb's ball. All 10 pins in the pit. And does he like it? Let's watch.
Okay, now on the lanes, the right lane with 7 in a row, shooting in the 8th frame. Four to go.
Chris, last week we saw our tournament winner, Kent Wagner, start with a string of 8 strikes in a row before being stopped by a 7-pin in the 9th frame. Once again, I'll tell you what, Pete McCordick's got a great shot at this as his wife looks on because he's pressed. He still needs strikes to win the match. It's not a cakewalk. Wayne Webb still has a possible 270 game. So McCordick doesn't have this locked up by any means.
9th frame. More. 9 in a row, 3 to go. And there is Susan McCordick. And boy, I'm dying to give away. True value is $100,000. Ed Langto and Dan Cotter quaking probably back in Chicago.
Webb's still in the match, though. He must continue to strike.
High hit, leaving the 9.
Great string for Wayne Webb as he had spare in the 1st and 3rd frames, strung 5 strikes in a row. Looks like an apparent spare here in the 9th frame. The best he can do would be 249. Normally a winning score in anybody's match, but not today, as his opponent, Pete McCordick, has a chance for a perfect game.
Wayne hasn't won a title since capturing back-to-back tournaments on the tour in 1985 when he won a light beer championship in Milwaukee and the Fairlanes Open in Baltimore, matching his 50th appearance on TV. And here's McCordick.
What is going through that young man's mind?
now.
A man who has never won a championship on the PBA Tour. Chris, I'll bet you there's many a player who has won a national title would love to have the 300 that McCordick has a shot at right now than any one of those championships. What an opportunity coming up in just a minute.
As we mentioned, Wayne Webb had one of the 4 300s during the week. Best games for McCordick, whom you're looking at his wife on the left, Susan, 288 and 279.
Some of the other 300 rollers this week, Mike Albee, Ron Palumbi, and Rod Pasteur. 4 perfect games. Wayne Webb can credit himself with 249 with another strike. Just not enough.
Big 249 for a man from Rehoboth, Massachusetts, now bowling out of Indianapolis, Indiana. And here we are now. 9 in a row, needs 3 more. Now he needs 2 and $100,000.
Pete McCordick, a great arm swing. He loses the ball slightly on the downswing. You see a ball only about 3 or 4 inches over the foul line, but direction is 95% of the sport. Solid in the pocket. The last player to stand in this position I can remember, Chris, was Johnny Petraglia. He had 11 in a row before finishing with 298, and I asked John, what went through your mind? He says, I went blank. The pressure was so much. Look at Pete shaking. 10 in a row.
One more. Ladies and gentlemen, just one more. And that couple, the McCordicks of Houston, Texas, will be $100,000 richer.
Well, we gave away $100,000 in the U.S. Open just 4 weeks ago to another Texan, Del Ballard Jr. Pete McCordick, bowling immortality.
Is that a sight, Bo?
Within his grasp, one more strike. 1974, Jim Stefanich was the last time.
All right, here it is. Right lane. We have it.
There he is, Pete McCordick. The tournament's not over. We still have 3 games left, but he's put a big dent in the prize fund.
Okay. Can you talk?
Oh, I don't know, man.
Susan, come here, quick.
She can't talk either, I don't think. I don't know.
How about those 2 young sons that are back in the wings?
Geez. They're in the nursery watching. I know Patrick's probably old enough to understand how excited I am. What a thrill. Jeez, I was just... What a thrill.
How heavy was that last ball on the shot?
Well, but the last 3, the 10th one, I think my knees buckled on about the 3rd step. Then the 11th shot, I felt really good with it. And the 12th one, I just wanted to throw it and just pray that all of them went down. I don't even know how I made the shot.
All right, Harry Golden, our tournament director all these years. Harry, you're an old hand at this a little bit.
Well, I haven't bowled 300, but what an exciting time. And Pete, congratulations on becoming the first bowler in 15 years to bowl a perfect game on our championship round. On behalf of the people at True Value Hardware Stores, we'd like to present you with this check for $100,000.
I can't even hold it, I don't think. My hands are shaking so much. Thank you, Harry. What a thrill. What a thrill. This is it's amazing.
All right, let's go back and replay the last shot, Susan and Pete. Look at a monitor over here. Here it is.
Can you tell me shaking there? I don't know. I thought I might have gotten a little bit inside, but I felt like I got through the shot pretty good. And I just was hoping they all went down. I knew it was solid about 45 feet. I knew it was going to be solid in the pocket.
Profile view that Bo always talks about, and your reaction?
I just, like I said, at first I thought I might got it in a little bit, and then when they all went down, I knew what it meant.
Aren't you glad you made the trip from Houston?
I sure am.
What more can we say? There's nothing like perfection, Pete. I missed the other three on ABC off on other assignments, so it's a thrill for me, too. Congratulations.
Thank you. Now I got to bowl 3 more games.
That's right. Okay, we'll be back with more action after this. The Professional Bowlers Tour is brought to you by Miller Lite. For great taste, there's only one light beer. By Quaker State Motor Oil. Quaker State people reaching for the best. And by Pepto-Bismol. Coats, soothes, and relieves. Pepto-Bismol for most common stomach discomfort. The Professional Bowlers Tour will continue after this message and a word from our local station. Here's the man that made match number run in Torrance, California spectacular. A perfect 300 game, only the 4th in 25 years of television on ABC. 300 for Pete McCormick and $100,000 Wayne Webb with a big 249, and needless to say, not enough. It all began way back. Let's remember when. May 13th, 1961. It's only the 3rd edition of ABC's Wide World of Sports and the Professional Bowlers Tour's first telecast. Pat Patterson faces Roy Long in the semifinal. Fred Wolf and Jim McKay reported the action that day.
Bowling tournament in the history of the game. He's on the strike. He can make a wild pitch here if he wants to and still get his spare. That's it. That's it. And the winner is Roy Long from El Paso, Texas, in the most dramatic finish of any PBA tournament in the history of the games.
After winning the 2-frame roll-off against Pat Patterson, Roy went on to defeat Rich Robinette in the championship round, taking home the richest purse in the young PBA's history. But it was this exciting match that led the PBA Winter Tour to be covered nationally by ABC Sports. Well, that was the way it all started back then. Mats Karlsson now of Gothenburg, Sweden, goes against the man that is $100,000 richer because of his perfect 300 game and bow. His name goes with Jack Biondello, Johnny Gunther, and Jim Stefanich.
Well, I thought it wouldn't happen for a long time. I knew we had the talent out here, Chris, but Pete McCordick couldn't have happened to a better, more experienced player out here, one of the best-liked players on the tour. Now he goes against Mats Karlsson from Sweden. Second match of the day.
Beautiful opening strike. The winner of one tournament, 4th year in the PBA. And let's see just what Pete McCordick does after that 300 game and $100,000, his first shot in match number 2. Pin. Back to reality. They're the leaders by round.
18 games of qualifying this week. Wayne Webb, the early leader. Mark McDowell, the Rookie of the Year, took over the lead. McCordick was up there, faltered a little bit in the 6th round of 24-game match play, but now he's in the driver's seat for the whole tournament, really.
All right, Pete McCordick. Career earnings, $378,000. As we said, he was a prolific non-winner. And then just today, thus far, he's going to add more.
You ought to give him a title just for that 300, Chris.
I think so. We'll give him the Burton Schenkel title.
That was great. Let's see if he can get it back. Still a lot of money to be won today.
All right. Spare and a strike for the perfect man today, Pete McCordick. And this native of Sweden opened with a strike, shooting in the second frame.
Mats Karlsson, a fingertip grip, uses those white finger inserts that many of the players find popular. Stretches his index finger out on the ball, sights over that index finger carefully. Not a real power player. He just keeps it in play. Nice, smooth delivery.
All right. 2 strikes for Karlsson. Let's replay that last shot.
Mats just has a tremendous push away. He starts the ball very quickly and then kind of chases after the bowling ball. Has a good slide, good direction. You see he picks his head up and he spots very close to the foul line. He's perfect through 2 frames. And by the way, if somebody else would bowl another perfect game, we would give away another $100,000. Meticulous in the way he lines up. Looks down on the approach, sets himself on the boards. Looks to see his ball. It's properly set in his hand right there. Now to the target out on the lane, approximately 7 feet past the foul line. Now the shot.
So with the bucket now, 2, 4, 5, 8 on the left lane. The man that missed several weeks of the winter tour to return to Sweden to be with his wife for the birth of a son.
Mats with that figure 8 on the backswing. They just conventional release right up the back of the ball, just a medium roll. Just a pinch too hard on that shot leaves the 2, 4, 5, and 8 a tough spare.
And that gray bowling ball did the job on those 4 pins. Spare in the third. Now the 300 man. If you just joined us, you missed a perfect 300 game by Pete McCordick in our first match, defeating Wayne Webb by that perfect score. Webb with a 249.
Once again, McCordick slightly high on the right-hand lane, the lane that he finished on in the perfect game he just rolled. Now what happened here is the ball breaks just a pinch high. 2-pin goes to sideboard, knocking out the 7, not to be the 4-pin. Pete McCordick now must make an adjustment on this lane. What has happened, he has rolled so many balls through that strike zone around the first arrow that he's worn off some of the conditioner. The lane's hooking a little more. A one-board adjustment should do it.
Pete McCordick, winner of today's title, Greater Los Angeles Open, will receive a check for $18,000. The loser of this match will pick up $5,500. So it's important. If it happens to be McCordick, it'll help pay the income tax on that $100,000 that he just won. Little relief in the face and body of Pete McCordick after getting his second strike in the second match. Mats Karlsson shooting the 5th frame. Leaving him solid 8 after striking in the 4th frame while we were away because of slow play. We have to bowl through.
A solid 8. The first time a player today has not been rewarded with a strike when he put the ball in the 1-3 pocket. One of the elements necessary for high scores naturally is good carry, good lane condition we have here today, and of course some of the greatest talent ever to step on a bowling lane.
So it's beautiful to watch Mats Karlsson. So is ABC's Wide World of Sports Today, Bo. Men's Downhill World Championship. Same-day coverage. Also, women's gymnastics, World Cup gymnastics from China, and a report on America's Cup. Excitement. Okay, the man who bowled a perfect 300 game a little earlier has doubled now and takes a 4-pin lead.
Chris, he's made the adjustment on the right-hand lane, and Pete McCordick is doing something I haven't seen done very often. He is using one ball on the right-hand lane and switching to another ball on the left-hand lane. He just threw a strike with the ball that just returned, grabbed another one off the rack, and he's up again on the left. Tough to do.
He has the fans with him today, naturally.
The head pin goes to the sideboard, drops out. drives out the 2, 4, 5, but doesn't quite get the 8. The machine has to wait at least 4 seconds before it comes in play. It does that. Once again, Pete McCordick is only his 3rd spare to shoot today.
All right, Susan McCordick, who watched along with you, her husband, with 12 strikes in a row and a perfect 300 game.
Mats Karlsson, who owns 2 pro shops over in Europe, one in Sweden and one in Norway. He still maintains those while competing on the American tour. Tells me he pays the money that he wins in the United States goes for U.S. taxes. European money stays in Europe.
There's the man that's won every major European title, which gave us an opportunity earlier to ask him the difference between European and United States bowling.
The league system is completely different. We bowl 8 guys on 8 pairs instead of 5 men on 1 pair. And that makes the pace a little different. We don't get at those, you don't bowl as fast as you do over here.
Well, Bo, you have bowled in Europe. What about it?
Well, that's their league style, and the amateurs use that, Chris. When the pros have bowled over in Europe or over in Japan or anywhere, we still bowl the same style we use here in the United States. The format of qualifying, then match play, and then, of course, the championship round as we see here today.
All right. Leading by 7 pins in the second match. We'll return. Okay, the Pro Bowl tomorrow from Hawaii. We're in Torrance, California, on a sunshiny day. Here's the man that shot a perfect 300 game in our first match and won $100,000. And right here, a tough match against Mats Karlsson from Sweden with a strike in the 7th frame.
And here you go with the trajectory of Pete McCordick. He's using a shiny ball in the right-hand lane, trying to hold down his hook. He makes an adjustment for the 2 shots that went high in the 1st and 3rd frames, knocks all 10 pins in the pit. Now on the left-hand lane, as he comes up here in the 8th frame, trailing by 7, he's using a dull ball, which will bite the lane surface a little more, hook a little more. And if he can make it strike, he'll have the lead.
Crossing over, leaving the 6-10. You know, Pete was so nervous at the start, waiting for his wife to arrive from the airport.
Well, he's had a nervous couple of hours as you see the ball go a little high, lead to the 6-10. Susie, how can they even be nervous, Chris? All they got to worry about is getting that $100,000 in the bank.
I'll tell you, Susie looks like a competitor, too.
Yes, she does. And as we see Pete McCordick waiting for something to be cleared. I can't see it from this angle. There must be a pin in the channel, Chris, that we cannot see. But all pins must be cleared from the playing area, so obviously there's something in the right-hand channel that's forcing him to wait to make this conversion on the 6-10.
ABC's college football live at 2 Eastern tomorrow. Live from Auburn, Alabama. It's the University of Las Vegas, University of Nevada. Basketball, the round ball, without any holes in it, Nelson, and that should be a real match. Lost it and left the 6 at open frame in the 8th.
Okay, to explain that frame, what happened is the machine set the 6-pin off, as we saw a fellow get down there and put the 6-pin back on spot. McCordick does not gauge the proper amount of hook across lane. He slides right by the 6-10. He has left the 6-pin standing and has found himself in arrears by 19. Mats Karlsson has 2 strikes working. Coming up here in the 8th, he can extend his lead to 29.
And he does just that.
Mats using about the same trajectory as Pete McCordick, a little bit more towards the second arrow, drives all 10 pins in the pit. He looks very sharp, can really put our 300 player Pete McCordick in trouble here with another strike in the 9th frame. That would extend his lead to 39 pins. He would be going at a 2:39 pace. The best, 2:36. The best that McCordick can do is 2:17. Big shot for both players right here.
runner-up in 1984, Rookie of the Year, to John Gant. And the winner of this match will meet John Gant. 4 in a row for Karlsson from Gothenburg, Sweden, home of boxer Ingemar Johansson.
Who gave boxing fans in the heavyweight division many a thrill. McCordick must strike. Cannot win if he doesn't strike in the next 3 shots.
Well, Bo, you mentioned boxing thrills by Johansson. Well, I did all those fights, but I think the 300 was more exciting today.
I agree. Now watch this pin come from the right-hand part of your screen, slide all the way over. It's the 3 pin, slides over, hits the 4 pin, almost knocks it out. Would have been a redeeming shot for Pete McCordick. Not to be. He's going to take home his $100,000, though.
And he can add $5,500 to it, which will help.
Not a bad paycheck. To go along with the $6,550 he's already earned this year, he will take over the leading money winner role on the Professional Bowlers Tour.
Good point. Meanwhile, left-hander John Gant continues to warm up because he will meet the winner. And then the tournament leader, looking for his first title, Ricky Corona, from the Oakland, California area.
McCordick just finishing up. The best he can bowl is 207. Mats Karlsson going at a 236 pace. It's going to be Karlsson and Gant in the semifinal match.
By the 300 happened here at Gable House, which is owned by Jack Cogan. His son Mickey is the general manager, and the older son is Kevin Cogan, IndyCar driver. What a family. There's Kevin in the center, Jack, the dad, on the right, and Mickey, who manages Gable House. So it's a 206 to go along with a perfect 300 game for Pete McCordick of Houston, Texas.
Mats Karlsson just going through the motions right now. He has a potential 256.
All right, there is your winner. He'll meet John Gant. Let's join Nelson Burton Jr. and learn more about bowling. Here is an important tip for all of you. The Professional Bowlers Tour Tip of the Week is brought to you by Old Spice Deodorant, an antiperspirant deodorant. We give 24-hour protection.
In lesson number 1, we showed you how to find your proper starting position on the approach. In lesson 2, we showed you the approach, the release, and the follow-through. In lesson 3, we showed you how to adjust your strike position on the approach and on the lane to get the ball in the pocket. Now, lesson 4 will take you through the spares. There's 2 basic types of spares. One when the head pin is standing, and one when it's been knocked down. First, when it's standing, simply move 5 boards to the right on the approach from your original strike position on the approach. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Use the same target you were using for your strike ball. Here I have the 1, 2, 4 combination. I'll show you how it works. The second type of spares we run into are head pin down spares. There's a very simple rule, only one thing you have to remember, and that's use the third arrow from the right-hand channel as your target on the lane for all of these spares. For instance, I have the 7-pin standing. Look at the 7-pin. Draw an imaginary line to the third arrow. Look where you're standing. Face the target and walk towards your intended spare, for instance, the 7-pin, and roll a simple straight ball over that target. Watch this. There you have it, our 4 lessons. I'm sure they'll help you. We've worked on your starting position, the proper approach and release, how to find your strike line every day, and finally, how to make all your spares. And the up four coming stops is Quaker State Open down in Grand Prairie, Texas. Then the Miller Lite Classic kicks off the $1 million Miller Challenge. If a player can win all three of those, he will pick up $1 million. Then we over to Venice, Florida for the Bowlers Journal Venice Open at Rafi Carrion's place. Then up to Peoria, Chris, one of your favorite spots, the True Value Open in Peoria. They also just gave away $100,000. Now here's the demographics of this field. 160 players. All the players average 210, 220 average, the highest of the year to top 24. Here's some of your other favorite players that did make the cut this week. Albee, Stayrock, two lefties up there. Steve Martin, steady. A new Davis heard from, a powerful right-hander from Dallas. Del Warren, defending champion. Jarros in there. Rod Pasteur. Parker Bowen III, I love that name. All-World Holman up there. Dave Ferraro, new champ. The Wizard of O's up there. Scoring Warren Nelson. Mark McDowell, watch that name. He's tough. Big, powerful Jim Pensack. Dave Husted, Tim Weisbrod, Randy Lightfoot up there again. Kent Wagner, our Showboat winner, and Pete McCordick, who was replaced by Purvis Granger because of a wrist injury, to round out the top 25.
And here's that flight board, and look at the bottom. McCordick, 300. That's right. 12 strikes in a row, a perfect 300 game. And Bo mentioned the True Value Open in Peoria. Well, it was True Value that put up that prize. And McCordick won it today, right here in Torrance, California, with a 300 to Wayne Webb's 249. Now we go into the semifinal match here in Southern California. John Gant moves in, the left-hander, going against Mats Karlsson of Gothenburg, Sweden. Amazing how things work out. Here you have the man that finished second at the Indy 500 last year, Kevin Cogan, whose dad owns this establishment, and True Value. They have owned a winning car at Indianapolis, and the 100,000 goes right here in front of us all to McCordick. Gant. One of 22 left-handers that started here. 5 went into the final 24, and this is the man that emerged in the number 2 spot.
One of the great young talents on the PBA Tour, experienced, powerful, and has probably the most powerful strike ball combined with speed of any player in the PBA.
'29-year-old John Gant, who was the high average winner on the PBA's national tour, winning the George Young Memorial High Average Award, averaging 214.38.
Mats Karlsson taking his time. He studies his lanes very well. His best asset actually is his concentration. Never gives up. Takes his time, as long as he doesn't lock up by taking too much time.
Okay. Karlsson with a booming first frame strike. And there's Kevin Cogan, of whom we spoke, finishing second behind Bobby Rahal. And he is the winner of the 86 Phoenix 200, and he'll be defending it April 12th, and ABC will be right there covering it live. First of 6 IndyCar races. Kevin Cogan, 30 years old, neat guy. Kevin started out in go-karts here in this area. Bo, just shows you. Start them young, like in bowling, and they can become winners.
Agreed. In fact, I was around go-karts this week. One of my very good friends, Tim Albin, is a go-kart buff in this area. I was up looking at his cars this week.
All right, Mats Karlsson, opening with 2 strikes in his second match, having defeated McCordick 234 to 206.
John Gant. Left-handed grip, holds the ball by his side. Just a powerful, powerful young man.
And there it stands, the 7. Ooh.
Gant, who rolls the bowling ball approximately 20 miles an hour. I think Mark Roth used to be the fastest, but here the fellow that they call the buzzsaw, obviously by the way his ball chops up those pins, rolls it a little faster than Roth as you see him snap that wrist through the ball. He left a solid 7. Conversion here, he would trail by 11. John, I practiced with him the first week up in Seattle, Tacoma area where we had the U.S. Open, and just a tremendous practicer. You couldn't hardly walk in the bowling establishment that was next door to the U.S. Open without seeing this young man working on his game. Once again, the high average player on the PBA Tour, well-deserved.
Another one.
Solid, nothing cheap about those 7 pins. What happens with John Gant is he gets the ball in a good position, but watch the 4-pin as it drives right over the top of the 7.
In this match, international flavor, as Gant is bowling Mats Karlsson of Sweden. And as it has so often in the past, the wide world of sports has had an international flavor, and certainly today, immediately following Men's Downhill World Championship from Switzerland, the World Cup Gymnastics, the Women's All-Around, and a report from Australia, the America's Cup.
K3 taking on Stars and Stripes, the women's gymnastics from China, and watch Doug Lewis from USA in the downhill.
From Sweden, Karlsson. Left to 10-pin.
The players on the tour call that the soft 10 as Mats reaches for another what we call a lower surface friction ball, something that doesn't hook very much, doesn't bite the surface, so he can control it for the spares. The 6-pin does not quite get up to the what we call the center of the 10-pin. That's the reason he left it. He would maintain his lead with the spare.
So the stylist from Gothenburg, where we once covered the World Figure Skating Championships and the National Championships. Next week in Tacoma, live a week from today, the women's. And what competition that will be. The National Figure Skating Championships. A week from today on ABC Sports. Four frames, 3 strikes for Karlsson, leading by 11. We'll be back. All right, next week, Grand Prairie, Texas. Look forward to that visit again. And while we were away, as we're running over our allotted time schedule, Gant doubling Karlsson with a strike-up shooting in the 5th frame. Can increase his lead to 11.
Yes, solid in the pocket as he extends his lead to 11 pins. Mats Karlsson is just chewing up the 1-3 pocket. He struck in the 1st and 2nd, left the half 10 or soft 10 in the 3rd. Once again, solid in the 4th and 5th frames, taking his time, wiping the oil or conditioner off the ball surface, which is a good idea. You don't want that to build up on the ball. It could have an effect as it rolls down the lane. Setting himself carefully on the approach, he could extend his lead over John Gant to 21 with a 3rd strike here in the 6th frame.
Methodical and formful. Mats Karlsson, 3 in a row, leading by 21, but one of the super competitors, high average man last year, has a double-up shooting in the 6th frame.
Graduate of Cincinnati University, and his wife, Dr. Beverly Timberling, a physician in the Cincinnati area, watching.
It's Dr. Beverly.
John Gant, with all that power, he drives the head pin to the sideboard, and it's going to roll around and almost carry the 7-pin, but not to be. Watch the head pin as it goes to the sideboard, comes straight across, and almost carries the 7. There's the head pin in the corner. Come on, not to be.
A lot of speed, precariously close to that channel on the left. His physician wife.
John with a degree in education from the University of Cincinnati. Also disdained a tremendous baseball career. Had his fastball timed at 95 miles an hour, but because of his wife's continuing education, played Dr. Mom and watched their young son.
The lefty gets a strike in the 7th frame. Really needed it. He's going against red-hot Mats Karlsson. Mats Karlsson going for the 3-6, covering it in the 7th frame. Missed his first shot, but he left the 3-6. Running behind our allotted time schedule. That's why we're bowling through. And I say fortunately we're running behind because of one big reason. Pete McCordick of Houston, Texas, bowled a perfect 300 game, is $100,000 richer as a result. And the second man from Houston to bowl a 300 joins Jack Biondello from that Texas town.
Mats Karlsson up in the 8th frame leads John Gant by 20 pins. Watch the high backswing and the turn of the hand of Mats Karlsson. Up, turn, release.
The last 300 game on TV, 1974, also in California, Alameda, California, Jim Stefanich.
Here's a man the players call Buzzsaw. We said before, because the way he chops up the pins, use the fingertip grip, you're going to see a lot of John Gant, one of the great talents on the PBA Tour. Can cut the lead of Karlsson down to 10 pins.
All right, John Gant. We said to him earlier that he had improved in 86. And we asked him what the George Young Average Award, Memorial Average Award, meant to him.
Well, to me, that's a great accomplishment. I really didn't expect to win the award, but I had a good fall session, and I just happened to fall into that. But in 85, I had a terrible year, and in 86, I started with a better mental attitude, and I worked harder in my game, and I just improved steadily over the year, and hopefully it carries over for this year.
All right, John, the voice of John Gant, and a powerful strike from the left side.
And Chris, you said we're running behind our allotted time. Agreed. Pete McCordick, a 300 game in the first match, but we have a chance to even get further behind in time because we have a potential of a tie, as you can see through 9 frames. It is all even. Mats Karlsson can take the lead with a strike here in the 9th. The fingertip grip, the stretch grip. The players out here call it the gorilla grip when you stretch that wide. The big danger is tendon injury to your wrist and your forearm. Here's to take the lead, 9th frame.
Karlsson, who won the last match over McCordick, the 300 shooter, 234 to 206.
Watch the ball as it enters the 1, 3, hits the 5 and the 9 pins. Just like you would diagram it. The ball actually only hits 4 pins when it strikes. It's the action of the 4 pins after they leave the ball that takes out the other 6 pins. That's the reason you need angle, speed, and spin on the ball, or lift, to drive them down. Karlsson, for him, he could lock out John Gant with 2 more strikes. If he doesn't, Gant can win, or we would have a tie, a possible tie game.
A 4-pin for Karlsson on the left lane.
That sets up a real possibility of a tie game. Right now, Mats Karlsson going at a 236 pace as the ball slides slightly high. The 2-pin goes to sideboard, doesn't take out these 4 and 7 pins. He wants it, he wants it. Not to be, has an easy spare to shoot. It's going to the last ball in this match. You see Mats Karlsson looking to the left. That's the official scoreboard of the players being kept over to the side. With a strike, he would have 236. John Gant tying his shoe, making sure that nothing goes awry, as he must strike at least once and possibly twice to win this game in the 10th frame. Karlsson with a strike here would force Gant to get at least 1 strike and 9 to tie, 2 strikes to win.
turn 7 on the left lane. A 235 for Mats Karlsson.
And watch how important this 7-pin is. The ball enters the 1-3. Watch the action of the 5-pin. There it goes over towards the 4-7. Remember that 7-pin. As John Gant's on the approach, he must strike on this ball. Unbelievable. What a day. That could have been a strike in anybody's book. It cost John Gant the match.
So John will have to be happy with $7,000. Karlsson has a chance for 18. We'll be back.
As in previous years, I answered some questions that we receive, and here's today's question. How does one become a PBA member? Simply this: 18 years of age, a 190 average in league or tournament play, 66 games minimum, 3 references, naturally be a man. Application must be signed by 3 PBA members. And if you want to write me, and I'll try to answer your letter, here's the address. And now, with me and with a super player, Chris Schenkel, Kevin Kogan. Go ahead, Chris.
Hey, Kevin.
Well, thanks a lot. I'm really looking forward to next year. I think even more so than last year. We have a great crew on the Patrick Racing team, and I think this is the car season of all time.
You really feel very confident that you can be in that top spot?
Well, I think that we have a better chance than I've ever had. I think I'm driving better than I have in the past, and we have a great group of guys with us now, so that really gives you a lot of confidence. And coming off a reasonable year last year, I think it doesn't hurt either. You know, it gives us the extra confidence.
Wasn't it fun to spend our mutual friend Dan Cotter's $100,000 here?
I was glad you said that, because I was just going to say, you know, it was fun to come here, but it was more fun to watch him spend $100,000.
Well, the Kogans are having good luck this year, Kevin.
Thank you.
Now, Bo.
Thank you, Chris. As you see the route that we've taken so far today, Pete McCordick with a 300 game. McCordick going down to Karlsson 234 to 206. Once again, Karlsson sneaking by a very tough John Gant. Sets up the final match. Ricky Corona against Mats Karlsson. One of these players will get a trip to the Firestone Tournament of Champions. The man that's knocked out after this match will be one of the great young players on the PBA Tour, Mark Baker. We're ready for the first shot. Mats Karlsson, the first foreign player to win a title in the United States, did that as an amateur bowler, so he didn't receive any money for it. But he has also won another PBA tournament last summer to qualify for the Firestone. And if he can win here, he'll save Mark Baker. Ricky Corona, first championship appearance. First shot, left lane.
Almost. Mats Karlsson, winner of 2 matches thus far. Big news today was the perfect 300 game by Pete McCordick. And Pete's right here. Pete, are you not trembling now, are you?
No, I'm a lot more relaxed now. I was calmed down pretty much right afterwards. I wanted to get back into winning the matches, but I just couldn't do it the second game.
Well, as we see Ricky Corona, our tournament leader, who hasn't bowled on this pair in more than an hour, what were the changes in the lane condition, and even in the 300 game, Peter? There must have been a change.
Yeah, the right lane hooked at least a board or 2 more by the time we started the second game. I thought I made a good shot both in the when I left both 4 pins early in the match, and then toward the end of the game, I made a couple of bad shots that cost me the match.
Let's see if Corona can make that adjustment.
And his first shot is a strike. In our final match, 18,000 to the winner.
Newcomer on the scene, Ricky Corona. 5-step delivery, high backswing, snaps that wrist, plants that left foot, starts off strike on the right-hand lane. Corona must win to get a trip to the Firestone Tournament of Champions. Mats Karlsson, who I said won a tournament as an amateur, also he won one as a pro.
4 o'clock Eastern tomorrow, the AFC NFC Pro Bowl live from Honolulu. Preceded by a nifty basketball game, the Rebels against the Auburn Tigers. Basketball and football, ABC Sports tomorrow.
Chris, just as our 300 roller predicted, the right-hand lane finishes quite a bit. The left-hand lane is a little bit slicker. Corona figuring this left-hand lane is going to hook as much as the right-hand lane. And what happens, the head pin goes to sideboard, knocks out the 7, the 4, and the 8, but doesn't quite get the 2 pin. Corona has to make a adjustment on this left-hand lane. Easy spare.
Spare for Corona, whose highest finish on the national tour was 15th in last year's St. Louis Open.
Mats Karlsson, who is an avid soccer player, he played what they call third division soccer, which is one of the upper divisions in Europe. He was a midfielder, and he said he got injured in his left knee, gave it up, and continued his bowling, and no doubt he has made the proper decision.
Strike in the second for Karlsson. We said the winner today, 18, the runner-up, 9,500.
Watch Mats from behind. This is a great shot. You see the high arm swing. See the movement of the hand, the old figure 8 movement we used to see back in the older days of lacquer lane surfaces. The straight lift through the ball, about 10 revolutions, and drives all 10 pins in the pit. The match is even after 2 frames.
All right, a week from today, Quaker State Open.
John Odrobinick tries to defend his championship where he defeated Mark Roth last year. Here's Karlsson by round. Remember, we bowled 6 rounds. The first 3 rounds, 18 games of qualifier. The last 3 rounds, 24 games match play.
Important double for Karlsson here in our final match of the Greater Los Angeles Open in Torrance, leading by 10 pins, and the tournament leader, Corona, is up. His parents are here. His sister is here. There's Teresa Corona, Ricky's mom. And there's Terry, his sister.
Corona hit the right-hand lane the first frame.
Listen to this crowd with that 8-pin.
We've only seen one other 8-pin so far today, and that was a solid 8 by left by. Now watch this pin action. This is really important. Watch the ball enter the 1, 3, and watch the 5-pin get driven straight back off the 8. Here it goes. Now we saw the 1, the 3. Now watch the action of the 5-pin. Boy, oh boy. See, that 5 should go right back into the 8. Too much power for Corona.
Corona, we asked him the difference between and professional bowling.
Well, I think the biggest difference I've found so far is that the stakes are a lot higher and the pressure is much greater. In junior bowling, we were competing mainly for trophies. In college bowling, it was team-oriented, so I had the support of 4 other guys behind me. Now I'm on my own, and the pressure is a lot greater, and it gives me a lot more things to think about.
The former collegiate All-American bowler, University of California, Berkeley. Two-four.
That was a key shot. A little lack of experience showing up there. Remember what our Pete McCordick said when we spoke with him. He says the right-hand lane's finishing a couple more boards than the left. So look at Corona's game. He started on the right, got a strike, hit light on the left-hand lane, came up solid in the pocket again in the third on the right-hand lane. Did not make the adjustment. The adjustment for Ricky Corona would have to be move your feet 2 or 3 boards to the right on the approach to get a little more angle to the pocket. He'll have to make that move.
Ricky Corona, who has a bachelor's degree in social sciences from the University of California, Berkeley. More of this final. Karlsson has just delivered his first shot in the 4th frame, and he has left the 3-6-10 in a very close match for the championship here in Torrance, California.
Mats needs to convert this spare to stay 10 pins ahead in the match. Mats started the game with a spare in the first frame, struck in the second and third frames, has gone high, avoided the split, but a cross lane for the 3-6-10 in the 4th.
Okay. Still 10-pin difference here. Karlsson leading by that margin. We mentioned his opponent, Corona, college graduate, the man that shot a perfect 300 game today, Pete McCordick, attended the University of Houston. So more and more we're getting bowlers out of the collegiate ranks.
The rosin bag being held by Ricky Corona and his bowling glove. That for a good grip, that rosin, very important. Mats Karlsson, 5th frame, leads by 10.
Karlsson, who defeated McCordick 234 to 206 after Pete shot that perfect 300 game, and then he defeated John Gant to get to this spot in the final. So now Corona trailing by 10. You see a strike and 3 spares. Shooting in the 5th frame. Next week, the Quaker State Open. Grand Prairie. Texas, that is. Four-pin.
Ricky slightly high on the right-hand lane. Now watch the action, the 2-pin right over here as it goes to the sideboard, it crosses over and should take out the 4 and 7, not to be. Knocks out the 7, leaves the 4. Corona with a conversion here will only trail by 11 pins at the halfway mark.
Immediately following on Wide World today, World Cup Gymnastics, Men's Downhill World Championship, and a report on the America's Cup.
Chris, I watched that America's Cup, and it's really, really interesting. That's the best-of-7 series. Just phenomenal. We wish Dennis Conner all the luck in his quest to bring it back to the United States. Ricky Corona taking one of his 3 allotted re-racks in the championship game. He trails by 11 pins, 6th frame. Needs to make an adjustment on this lane. This is an important shot to him.
A 7.
He made the adjustment, but just not quite enough. He leaves the 7-pin as he trails by 12. Now watch the footwork of Corona. Methodical, very smooth. Watch as he hits the foul line, slides right in close to the foul line, trailing right foot. The action of the head pin takes out the 4, 5, but doesn't quite get the 7. Corona not beating himself, keeping the ball around the pocket. It's a close match.
Very deliberate bowlers. Mats Karlsson of Sweden. Our international bowler and another international Wide World of Sports. Men's Downhill World Championship from Switzerland. World Cup Gymnastics, the ladies from Peking, China. And a report on the America's Cup.
Karlsson to take a 22-pin lead with a strike.
6, 8, or 9, 10.
A quizzical look he gives the lane. He looked down at his target where he had thrown the ball. Now watch the action as the head pin is drives out all the pins on the left-hand side. He leaves the 6, 9, and 10 spares. Gets a good break on the left side of the lane. Got to avoid the chop of the 6 off either the 9 or 10. Mats Karlsson leads this match by 12 pins, 4 frames to go against a very tough newcomer to the PBA Tour, Ricky Corona. Karlsson, 6 feet 1 inches tall, 170 pounds, or for the European scales, approximately 80 kilos in the metric system. Up on the lane, he has hit so well. Lane 13 here at Gable House Bowl in Torrance, California.
Mats Karlsson with a strike in the 7th frame. We're in the final match for the Greater Los Angeles Open. More after this. Behind the score is a tournament leader, Ricky Corona. while we were away. He had a strike in the 7th, and then he left a 7-10, unfortunately.
Watch the action. Apparent good hit. Important in the match. Boom. He hits light, saws that 5-pin straight back. Here comes the head pin. Not to be the 7-10 split. He trails by 26 pins. Karlsson in the driver's seat can extend to 36 with another strike.
Big double for Mats Karlsson, who's in his 3rd match, a victory over McCordick, who shot that perfect 300 game in our first match and won $100,000, and then over John Gant to get to the finals against Ricky Corona. 3-rack coming up.
Each player is allowed 3 re-racks in the championship. Mats Karlsson right now in the driver's seat, gauntlet in hand, can just about put away Ricky Corona with another strike. Karlsson going at a 2:17 pace. Corona, the best he can do is 2:01. This shot here could tell the whole story of this match, but not the whole story of the day. Pete McCordick has won the day.
Just adding to his total, another strike for Karlsson. But here's the man with the striped shirt, profile view, Pete McCordick, 12 in a row in the first match, the first 300 games since 1974 in a television final. And Bo, having done quite a few firsts in sportscasting, like the first sudden death NFL championship game, this is my first 300 on live television.
Mine also, Chris. All the predecessors were in the 60s and early 70s.
And the tournament leader with a strike in the 9th frame. Winner to receive the championship trophy here, $18,000. Runner-up, $9,500.
Ricky Corona, nothing has gone well for him today. He struck in the first frame, was light in the second, solid 8 in the third, light again in the fourth. Then from the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th frames, he's kept the ball around the pocket. Nothing good happening for him. Disaster in the 8th frame as he left what we call the swishing 7-10. That was his undoing in his quest for his first PBA title. The best he can do is 2:01. Karlsson has the match well in hand. Obviously disappointed, but you'll see more of this young man who was just excellent all week long, a crowd thriller. They were behind him. Mats wins his 3rd title, his 2nd as a pro, the Greater Los Angeles Open.
And as you said, Nelson, the big winner today was Pete McCordick of Houston, Texas. 14 years on the tour, never a win, but a perfect 300 game and $100,000 today.
Ricky Corona, his last ball. A strike would give him 181.
And, of course, not enough. His first try for a title, which would have been his first. Ricky Corona, we will, of course, see him. And Mats Karlsson of Gothenburg, Sweden, has won his 2nd professional title here at Gable House, where a perfect 300 game was shot by Pete McCordick of Houston, Texas. We congratulate Karlsson and McCordick. 235 to 181. There is Mickey Kogan, and here is Pete McCordick, $100,000 richer because of a perfect 300 game. Here is that big shot. Okay, 12 in a row, the follow-through all the way, and then look at that crowd. Pete McCordick of 300 live television. Coming up next on ABC's Wide World of Sports, the best skiers from around the globe in the Men's Downhill World Championship, World Cup Gymnastics, and a report on the America's Cup.
Don Carter attempting to make an almost impossible 4-9 split. And he makes it. Don Carter has just made one of bowling's most difficult shots.
In the early 1950s, the legend of a champion bowler begins to unfold in St. Louis. Don Carter, BWAA Bowler of the Year 6 times, bowls 13 sanctioned 300 games, winner of 16 major bowling championships, records the only Grand Slam in bowling history, winning the sport's 4 match game titles in 1961. Former Green Bay great Paul Hornung talked with Carter at a bowling alley and then later at Hornung's Atlantic City, New Jersey penthouse suite, where the two men explored the legend of Don Carter.
Professional Bowlers Association was formed in 1958, but I'd like to know what it was like in the early 50s, your early years as a professional.
Well, that's when I first started, really, Paul, and at that time there wasn't any tour. They had different small tournaments around the country, and we got 5 of us kids together and started making some of the tournaments, but we'd pile 4 or 5 in the car and go to a hotel and get one room and put the rollaways in, and didn't make much money, but we had a lot of fun, and there wasn't any money around to be made because there was no organization.
And then you formed a team in St. Louis.
Yes, we got together, and Whitey Harris acquired a sponsor, and then things got a little better. We went on the payroll. We started making appearances and exhibitions throughout the country and still made a few sweepers each year.
Did you clear up to, let's say, 3,000 or 4,000? I guess would have been a good year.
That would have been a great year, Paul. I think we'd come out with a couple $1,000s apiece, and like I say, in those we bowled because we loved to bowl. There really wasn't a lot of money to be made.
Don, let's take a look at some of your great competitors in those early years.
During the 50s, a group of men dedicated to the sport of bowling emerged from small-town emporiums across the country. Struggling against early prejudice instilled by gamblers and riffraff, their dedication and perseverance gradually won over the population. Who were the men of bowling's golden years? Ray Bluth, a bowler with a unique style and approach to the game. Bluth threw a very hard but accurate ball. Caressing the ball on the approach line, Bluth became easily recognizable to television audiences. As interesting as his form was his theory, as Bluth uniquely dissected the game into its component parts and came up with a successful formula. Billy Whaloo. Standing 6'5", Whaloo was one of the big men on the bowling circuit. Remarkably, for a man of his size, Whaloo had a very low, smooth approach to the lane. Tremendous pin action and a great strike ball made Whaloo a formidable opponent on the alleys. Bob Strampy, one of the toughest competitors ever to step onto a bowling alley. His competitive drive was so intense that during one match, he slammed his hand against his ball in disgust and sprained his fingers. Strampy exhibited one of the biggest hooks in the game, and if the ball failed to knock down the pins, his body English would. Ed Lubanski. After a short but distinguished baseball career in the minors, Ed decided to pursue bowling. Lubanski's 2-fingered ball was unique in the game, but the strain of long matches soon caught up with him and forced him to adopt the more conventional 3-finger style. Lubanski once bowled back-to-back 300 games on national TV, the first and only time this has been done. Billy Golombiewski, known to everyone as Billy G. He was the only bowler on the professional tour to drop the ball behind the foul line on his approach. Weighing in at 110 pounds, soaking wet, Billy G gained early fame when he met and defeated this man, huge Steve Nagy, who at 250 pounds, more than double Billy G's weight. Nagy attacked the pins like they were personal enemies.
Playboy Tom Hennessy. His classic form gained him the reputation as the smoothest bowler in the game. Joe Joseph, another of the men who fashioned a super smooth delivery. His form was considered almost dainty. Dick Webber, one of the top bowlers ever to come out of the professional tour. Called Splinter because of his freewheeling style, Webber looked like he could bowl forever. But for one man, Dick Webber might have dominated the sport for a long time. This man, Don Carter. Carter, ironically, looked older then than now, but his style always remained inimitable and distinct. The slow prance to the line, the locked elbow, the low bend of his body.